This is Frank Taylor. He is a paramedic and has a side hobby of home brewing. Frank, what would you say started you brewing?
Me and my buddy started brewing probably about 6 or 7 years ago. I got into it just because we were interested. We were kind of connoisseurs, and we wanted to check out and see how it was made, and it kind of helps you with like learning the taste of beer.
How many times did you have to try before you figured out how exactly to do it?
The first couple times, I watched him do it. I watched him do the boil, and I kept coming over to help him clean things and bottle the beer and different stages. And of course, most of the time it's just sitting there and staring at it because it's a lot of waiting.
So you started to having an apprenticeship of beer making?
Yeah, no, I guess so. I mean, that's the best way to do it. Another way is to read books. You got to read a lot to really know what's going on and when to start doing things and when to test gravity and why things have to be so clean.
How long have you been doing it?
About 6 or 7 years. I brew probably 1 or 2 batches a year for like special occasions or just cause.
How much is a batch?
About anywhere from 3 to 5 gallons. Sometimes you get somewhere in between there because you lose some of the yield through just sediment and losing some of it through spillage and whatnot.
Okay. How much beer would you say that you've made overall?
Let's see. About 3 times, 6, it's like 18 gallons probably, overall.
What's your favorite beer to brew or drink?
My favorite beer to drink is our stouts, but my favorite beer to brew, because it's the easiest, is an IPA. IPAs, they don't get infected as easy because they're so hop heavy, and hops are like natural antibiotics or antibacterial.
So what are some different kind of beers that you've made over the past? Like you have messed around with ingredients? Or?
Yeah, I brew IPAs mostly, and when I get done, we do a priming process, and you do any kind of sugar you want. I use honey, and it kind of messes with the taste a little bit. So I like doing honey.
Cool. You want to show me how it starts being made?
Absolutely. Alright, so the first part of brewing beer is the boil. And you start off, usually it's best to do it outside. I've done it inside a couple times and stunk up my apartment building and everybody hated me for a long time. So it's good to do it outside. I got an outside cooker and a nice stainless steel pot with no Teflon inside. You don't want it to burn off and make your beer taste gross. So the propane tank. So I boil that, and you could do like long boils. Like that's why IPAs are called 90-minute or 60-minute IPAs. That's how long the boil is. And first you start out with a tea. You make a tea out of you get a nice big sack of barley, and you let it steep just like a tea bag. And you let it steep there for a while, and then you get some malt extracts. If you're doing an extract, it takes way less time to do an extract.
Do you pick out the barleys by hand? Does it matter what kind you use? Do they have different kinds like teas?
Yeah, the barley, it kind of gives it its color. So, and they're measured in degrees. Like you can get a 45-degree malt barley, and it'll come out like a copper color, and then you get like 90-degree, which is like more amber, and then you get all the way up until like a black color that you want in like porters and stouts. So you get your tea bag going, and then you use your malt extracts, which is like these big cans, and you dump it in there, and you let it boil for a while, and then you add your hops. And that's like the main 3 ingredients besides water and yeast. But you only do like a gallon. You want to boil a gallon, and you have 4 gallons waiting in your fermenting bucket. You can either do it right into here, or you can do it into a glass carboy, which is right here. It's a little bit more thick, and you do your first fermentation process in there. And first of all, you want all this stuff to be really clean. That's like the biggest, like the hardest thing about brewing beer is how clean it has to be. So use this special brewing cleaning stuff. It's Be Bright. It's really good stuff. You got bottle brushes and stuff. You got to clean everything very
That Be
thoroughly.
Bright stuff, is that made just for brewing beer, or?
Yeah, it is, but to be honest, like, it has the same ingredients as OxyClean. So if you just get a big thing of OxyClean, you can use that to clean with as well. And since it's you pretty much all you do is you want to set up your brewing or either one of these fermenting vessels. You want to set them up to be an environment where yeast can live. But yeast are going to eat the sugar, and they're going to produce the alcohol and change the taste of the beer, and also carbonate it as well. They do several things. But since it's a closed-off environment, you try to keep all the microbes away, and you put this in the top of your bucket or your carboy, and you fill it up with water, and it's sort of a one-way valve, and the carbon dioxide can come out of that valve, and it bubbles really ferociously at first, and then kind of dies down, and whenever it's done dying down, it's time to rack the beer. And racking is basically you siphon from your carboy into your other bucket. I like to do this bucket second because it has a hole right here, and your second fermentation process, you'll end up with this spout over here, so you can, once you're done, you can hook up your hose and start bottling your beer. And this is going to be around the 5th week, so it's a lot of waiting. And I use this. It's a bottling hose, and it has a special valve on the end with a button, so whenever you press down, the liquid comes out of here. So once you can hook it up to your spout, have this on the ground, and again, everything has to be sterilized. It's just most of this is sterilizing, and this will reduce your chances of infection by just filling it up from the bottom, and it reduces oxidation when you fill it up from the bottom too. Then it just presses on the bottom, and the liquid comes out.
What do you mean by oxidation?
You don't want your beer to oxidize. You don't want it to like touch the air too much. So when you fill up from the bottom, the top layer pretty much stays at the top and fills up by going from the bottom to top. You don't want too much air to touch your beer, because when it oxidizes, it can go stale and taste bitter, and it can spoil the beer. And also, the open air has tons of microbes in it and stuff. You don't want those in your beer. And after you bottle it, I use these. These are a little bit more expensive. They're called growlers, and they're real easy to use. You just bottle them like that, and they come back off like that, and they store. But if you don't have growler, you can use old beer bottles, and you get kind of flat beer caps you can buy at the brew store. And this is a little machine that pretty much just clamps them down, and it's
Pops the
simple
cap
to
on?
use. Yeah, you
That's
caps
pretty
your
cool.
beer. Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Can you get like your own specialized caps for them, or is it just all plain caps?
Yeah, I think that would be. I don't know. I don't know how to do that, but you can. That's why it's better to do that, because you can take a Sharpie and write what kind of beer it is on top, or put like your initials or whatever you want to do. But as far as like specializing caps, I think that's like way above.
Well, I was wondering more in the lines of you being able to get your own like label to put on your beer. So
Yeah, that's more. I mean, you could, but it would be expensive, and I wouldn't know where to start. I guess. I mean, you could do it, but I don't know. That seems like more of like a professional brewer thing.
Well, a lot of people are unprofessionals now. It's getting kind of like
Yeah,
Pretty big thing to
Jacksonville's got a really good like home brew scene. I think they're coming up That's why I have so many breweries. There's like 7, I think. There's 6 or 7 breweries in town, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know the process of becoming a factory style
So for
brewery.
personal use only.
Yeah, this is more just home brewing. When you're done, you'll get this little yeast sediment at the bottom that you don't get at like a professional brewery, and you kind of have to pour. You can't drink it like right out of the bottle, even though that'd be really fun, because they're so big. But
So when you make a bottle of beer, you have to filter it after all your own personal ones, or
pretty much all. I mean, unless you're kegging it, you don't really have to worry about it if you're kegging it. And I've never kegged beer before, but all you really have to worry about is this small sediment at the bottom, and it's yeast, and it's got lots of B vitamins in it. It's just really bitter, and it's cloudy. So when you pour your beer, you just pour a couple glasses all the way down to, and you leave like a ½ inch where it's filled, and you can slosh it around and drink it just to, get some B vitamins if you want them. But I never drink it. It's kind of gross.
I don't know if beer drinkers are that concerned with their health.
Well, alcohol deplenishes your B vitamins, so it's
Oh,
a little yin and
It's
yang.
nourishment.
Yeah. But yeah, that's about
Why
it.
don't you
Any
show
questions?
that thing over there that you
Oh
made?
yeah, my girlfriend's dad made this for me, and this is really cool. When you're done with the boiling process, you have to let it cool before you can add your yeast, because the heat will kill it, and also it might crack the glass if you pour in boiling hot wort into your carboy.
And
So-
the wort is...
The wort is the finished boil product. It's like after you get all the yeast, or not all the yeast, but all the malt and hops in there, and that's just like a term for it. It's a wort. And it's pretty cool. It's kind of like
So it's pretty much like the finished product right before you...
yeah,
pour
it's,
it in?
Yeah, it's the end of the boil. I wouldn't say it's the finished product is a beer. But the finished product takes weeks and weeks to get. The wort is just the finish of the boil,
Oh, okay.
and it's kind of like the syrup. It doesn't have any yeast in it. It's kind of the nutrients for all your yeast to live off of.
Okay.
So it's boiling hot at the end, and in order to get it, like to reduce the time where it's out in the open air and microbes can get to it, you want to cool it down. And this little thing right here, you rack it out with a copper tube, which is right here, a little racking cane that's copper. It goes through from the copper racking cane through this, which is a heat-resistant tubing, and it goes into this part of this spiraling cooling device. And I'm not really sure what it's called, but that's what I'm calling it. So it goes in here, and the copper tubing goes through the whole hose, and you can put water right here, cool water, from like your tap, and the water surrounds the copper tubing, so by the time it spirals all the way down and gets through here, it's nice and cool. And it goes straight into the top of your carboy, and I don't have the aerating thing. It's good to oxidize it in the beginning. I know I said that it's bad for it when you're bottling your beer, but the oxidation is good for it at the beginning of the fermentation process, because it creates more alcohol. It gives the yeast a little bit of nutrients. But that's pretty cool. I mean, I've never used this before, but we're going to use it in a couple weekends from now.
What kind of beer will you be brewing then?
My next beer is going to be a porter, and it'll be ready on St. Patrick's Day.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we're going to start that 2 weeks from now. That's about it. I mean, I don't know what else. Hey, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, we can stop here.